I'm getting ready to quilt piano keys on my Bernina 780, and in this case there's no stitch regulator because I have the ruler foot on. So I've taken off my stitch regulator to put my ruler foot on. That means I'm the stitch regulator. And the three things that are going to control the stitch length here are going to be the speed I move my hands at, the speed slider on the machine, and also how hard I push that foot pedal. And so as I stitch across this line, I'm aiming to have a stitch length that looks like it's between 2.5 and 3.0, but of course the settings don't really matter. It's all in the way I'm moving my hands and the way I'm moving the machine. So now I'm going to travel up the side of my block, and then I'm going to travel over again. Now, there's a few ways to gauge how far you go up the side before you turn. One is just trial and error. You can go up the side, then bring your ruler over and see about how far up you are. You might have to go back a stitch or two to get where you need to go. But the other way is to use painter's tape, and that's what I've done here. Here I have painter's tape, so the pieces of tape are 1.25 inches apart. So that means I know that if I put the edge of this piece of painter's tape here, if I go up to the next edge of the painter's tape, I'll be in around the right position. It may not be perfect, but it does help me. And you can always make extra lines on your ruler using painter's tape, or actually you could even use Sharpie, but I would only do it on the side that's not touching the fabric. Okay, so I've done my parallel line. Now I'm going to travel up the side again. This time I'm going to use the painter's tape to kind of tell me where I'm at. You know, the most common mistake I see on domestic machine quilting is people jumping the machine, and that means that when I move my hands, I move my feet at the same time. You don't want to do that because there's a slight delay when you push the foot pedal. So you actually want to move your feet first, and then don't move your hands until you see that needle start to move. Even if you have to do a stitch in place, that's better than not doing one at all and getting one of those big jump stitches. Okay, so now to end, I'm at the end of my row. I would do a few stitches very close together, and then when I'm ready to end my thread, I go needle up, presser foot up, and I make a loop with that top thread, and I do one more stitch, needle down, needle up, presser foot up, and then I pop that bobbin thread to the top and I clip it. If you're doing quilts for shows, I wouldn't do it that way, but I don't do quilts for shows. If you are doing a quilt for a show, I would recommend leaving the threads long, knotting them right near the surface of the fabric, and then threading them in a needle and burying them in the quilt sandwich. And that is how you stitch piano keys on a domestic machine.